You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, welcome to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM, 312-255-8408, 312-255-8408. You also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Sakowitz, the rector of Holy Name Cathedral, and co-host Mark Teresi, assistant to the rector for special projects.
Right.
Is that your new title, Mark?
Yes, from executive director, which I'm thrilled to hand off to Deacon Dennis Roback.
Who's doing a marvelous
He's
job.
doing a
You did a great
great
job too.
And so we'll work on the 175th, which
also,
is in 2 years.
yeah, because we have in 2024, 2025, in terms of the cathedral as a parish and the cathedral becoming a cathedral in 1875
Correct.
in November. And yesterday we had a staff gathering, thanks to generosity of Fred Latsko. Took our staff on a boat ride on Lake Michigan and then dinner.
It was very
And
nice.
Well, I was expecting it to be very, very hot. Once you get onto the water, I've not been in a boat in over a year, it cools off. It really does. There was no storms. It was a beautiful evening. And we have a great program lined up again, 312-255-8408. In August of 2023, the Parliament of the World's Religions returns to the birthplace of the modern interfaith movement after 30 years away to celebrate 130 years of history in the city of Chicago. Parliament convenings attracts participants from more than 200 diverse religious, indigenous, and secular beliefs in more than 80 nations. Joining us in studio, backed by popular demand, for the first time halfway to today's program to talk about the Parliament of World Religions are Dan Olson and Susan Podelic from the Office for Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs. Dan and Susan, welcome to the program this morning.
Great to be here, Father Craig.
Thanks so much.
It's
Good
great
be
to
here.
have you because you've been on
Yeah.
before,
Huh?
but sometimes during the pandemic we were more on just live stream. But now, the only reason we have Dan Olson on the program today is because he's a diehard Green Bay Packers fan. I'm a big Bears fan. Football hasn't started. So, Dan, we let you on the program today. But once the season starts in September, it's a different story. And maybe finally, the Bears can beat the Packers minus Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I'd wish you all the luck in the world, but I don't mean it. But I will say, a saying going around Wisconsin now is all you need is love and a little defense potentially. And I say that with all love on my anniversary today, 21st year of marriage to my beautiful wife. Tracy.
Congratulations, Dan.
21 years ago today.
Yes,
God bless you.
my marriage is now old enough to drink, so we're very pleased to maybe go celebrate that fact tonight.
Were you married in Wisconsin?
No, Chicago.
In Chicago?
Evergreen Park, technically, and
20.
Most Holy Redeemer Parish.
Happy anniversary.
In
That is-
August, for us, it's double that, 42.
Is that going to be it, Mike? That's right,
Wow.
42 and 21.
It gets better. I mean, it really does. That's
And
what
Susan's-
my wife told me to say on the radio.
And Susan's only 29 years old, so with your age. So
Well, we'll just leave it there. Yeah.
we'll leave it there.
We'll just-
Well, now we have a great topic lined up, the World Religion of Parliaments, or Parliaments of Religions. And what is it? You know, what the history, describe for our listeners, what is it, Dan? Or Susan, either one.
It's amazing. I mean, that's the first word that comes to mind. There are people gathered from all around the world, as you just read there, different countries, different religious, spiritual traditions, indigenous traditions from all around the world and locally. But you'll see and hear and smell and taste things. There's a free lunch every day put on by the Sikh community at the Parliament. It's just, as Susan and I have been talking about, visually stunning. We're really looking forward to having it here in our own backyard, allowing the people of Chicago to experience something, frankly, you don't get to see anywhere else, to see thousands of people gathered from all around the world speaking about religion, why it motivates them to do good, and just being together and learning from one another. It really is a tremendous experience.
You know, and it's such an extraordinary event. I mean, sometimes people call it a conference, but it's not that. It's so much larger a parliament. There's so many things happening all at the same time. And, for example, there's panels, there's presentations like you would expect at a big gathering, but then there's an art gallery, there are performances, there's music, there's a film festival, there's all kinds of extraordinary things, and there are, right now we know that there are over 6,000 people already registered for McCormick Place.
No,
From all over the world.
Yes.
two things. Why the word parliament, which kind of makes me think British. I don't know why, because there are other parliaments. And then the second question is, where are you putting 6,000 people?
Well, that's easy. McCormick Place.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So that's the kind of biggest venue around.
Right, and the word parliament is actually has a history, you know. And the first parliament of the world's religions was in 1893, and they chose that word because one of the meanings of parliament is a safe space for
I did not know that.
gathering.
Yeah.
A safe space
For
meaning
gathering and
for
conversation.
Parliament.
Yeah, and so they have kept that, and that's the idea. There are other definitions, but that's the idea. It's a safe space for people to gather and listen and speak.
Is one definition of Parliament.
Right.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Now, it began back in 1893. Was it held here in Chicago? Where?
As part of the Parliament or the Columbian Exposition, the World's Fair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
1893.
and
Wow.
right at the Art Institute. If you go to Fullerton Hall at the Art Institute, right off the main entrance, there's a plaque that has a carving of Swami Vivekananda, and he was the
Now
major
that's so the very
rock
first
star, yeah.
Parliament of World Religions
was in the Art Institute.
gathered in Chicago. Art Institute as part of the Chicago's Fair in 1893,
Yeah.
which was incredibly well attended from people from all over the world. You also have to think about this. The world in 1893, they weren't traveling here by plane.
Right.
They were traveling here by ship, and this was the pre-car.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you were coming by train in the
Boat.
United States, by boat, and that's amazing. And so the last time it was held in Chicago was 30 years ago.
Yes, then for its 100th anniversary in 1993, it returned. Cardinal Bernardine was active in attending there at the opening sessions. Father Tom Bema, Sister Joan McGuire were really instrumental in getting that off the ground with other religious leaders in the city here. So yeah, its birthplace, and then it returned in 1993 and kind of kick-started into a more modern iteration where we've had every 4 or 5 years a parliament which has moved to different cities around the world.
So this is not held yearly then.
Oh no, about every 5 or 6 years in a different
Where was
country.
it held the last time? 5 or 6 years ago.
Well,
Toronto.
physically in Toronto, there was a virtual parliament in 2021
During the COVID
during the
time.
pandemic,
Yeah.
but physically it was in Toronto most recently.
Now, who runs this? I mean, if it's a parliament, world religions, different religions, the board? Or, I
Well-
mean, that's a big event to be planned.
It's huge, and it's actually a nonprofit organization
Oh, okay.
that's based right here in Chicago, called the Parliament of the World's Religions. And so they connect with other organizations all around the world in order to make it happen. But it's based right here.
Wow.
It has a board of trustees, and it's a regular nonprofit. Yeah.
That is now. What is the most commonly asked question about the Parliament of World Religions, or what's the greatest myth You sometimes try to say this is what it's not.
Well, I would say the question we most get from Catholics is, why should I go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
You know, what's the point? And we would say a number of things. One is it deepens your own faith. Being in a setting with other members of different religious traditions and being able to explain, what do you believe about Jesus?
Yeah,
Why
That's great.
do you worship like you do? Who's Mary to you? From people from all around the world who may have no concept of Catholicism or Christianity even. It offers you an opportunity to think through who and what you are and what you believe, while experiencing depths in the Jewish tradition or the Muslim tradition or Sikhs, or even coming to know some tradition you didn't know existed in the exhibit hall or going to a session. So it both deepens your own faith and allows you to expand and to learn about others.
So how many religions will be represented?
Over 200.
Over 200
Yeah.
various religious denominations in the world.
Yeah, and all the major world religions, everything that's considered a major world religion will be there.
That is terrific.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because I see that by your place there. Cardinal Supich had an article
Mhm.
in the Chicago Catholic about the Parliament. And it just made me think after I read the article, what's heaven going to be like in
Mhm.
terms of the Father or the Son or the Spirit welcoming people in?
You know, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because one of the things that has always inspired me about the Parliament is people, as Catholics, and of course this is in our scriptures, we're taught that we are all made in the image and likeness of God. And so there are people from around the world. You're in a little microcosm of the planet. And I always think this is the image of God. All of us together. The
Yeah.
face of God is here.
Because
Yeah.
you can't enter if you're not affiliated with one another. You know what I mean? I can't imagine going to heaven and God saying, well, you know, you left this one out. Or you know a lot of jokes. The joke, you know, where Catholic comes in and who's behind that? Well, those are the Lutherans. You know,
There's
they
no
have-
other.
Right,
Yeah.
There's no
exactly.
other.
Yeah, but it's also fascinating that we live in an age today where ecumenism is a lot more accepted than 100 years ago. I mean, two thoughts that come to my mind is when my mother and her brother, my Uncle Ted, they were raised by Milwaukee Division, the old Polish neighborhood,
Mhm.
Holy
Yeah, my
Trinity,
family too.
St. Stanislaus Kostka, that neighborhood.
Yeah.
When my Uncle Ted, who's a great athlete, was a young boy, talking in the 1930s, he was born 1925, he was not allowed to go to the YMCA in the neighborhood
Right.
because that's where the Protestants were. And my grandparents, his mom and dad, forbid him to go. You can't go to the YMCA because we're not allowed to go there.
Yeah.
That's a Protestant place. That's just one small example
Mhm.
where the thought of intermarriage was very rare. In fact, my mother growing up, I'm 100% Polish. Her mother would say to my mother, "You'll be dating someone who's Polish
Oh, big
and
time.
Catholic,
Big time.
Absolutely.
and
yeah.
you'll be
Yeah.
dating Polish and marry Polish and Catholic." And my mother did. Mark,
Aaron?
take us to break.
Okay, good. WNDZ 750 AM Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago with Dan Olson, Susan Pudelek. You know, when we come back, you had mentioned Father Tom Bema, and maybe we can talk about, I remember his 25th at Mundelein, and the procession coming in was a Parliament of World Religions. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody was there.
Yeah.
So maybe when we come back, talk a little about his role as a Chicago priest in this international
And
faith
God
group.
rest his soul.
Yeah.
I know, what a great guy. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
Caring adults make all the difference in the lives of adolescents. Catholic Charities understands this, and our mentorship programs provide a free opportunity for young adults to spend time with volunteers who genuinely care about them. This program is ideal for youth aged 9 through 12 who may need support navigating the challenges of childhood and early adolescence. Our amazing volunteers serve as friends who help youth recognize their strengths and empower them to reach their full potential. Catholic Charities conducts a thorough background check on every volunteer, and our program coordinator closely monitors and supports every relationship. Mentoring is a fun after-school program that can help young adults build confidence and enjoy fun activities with their peers, too. To learn more, visit CatholicCharities.net or call 312-655-7970 in Cook County and 847-782-4224 in Lake County. We're connecting youth with great role models. Join us today.
I can't imagine myself going into any other school.
Our school fosters growth by being a backbone to our family.
My kids are incredibly well-rounded. I see a lot of kindness in them on a daily basis.
One of the things I think Catholic schools do well is personalize the learning experience. You can hear joy in the classrooms.
I feel that I'm happy that I am in this kind of school.
Our school communities provide students with academic excellence and character education in a supportive and stable learning environment. Come see for yourself. Visit archchicago.org/findaschool.
Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program has assisted thousands of single parents who are working to become more self-sufficient through education and employment opportunities. Our experienced case managers accompany participants for up to 5 years on their journey to identify, address, and break down barriers to improving their quality of life and achieving meaningful goals for themselves and for their families. Professional, compassionate assistance is offered in a safe and trusting environment as participants develop the skills needed to become financially stable and able to support themselves. Every achievement starts with a decision to try. To learn more about Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program, call 847-782-4233 or visit CatholicCharities.net.
We're back, WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408, or you go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're with Dan Olson, Susan Podalik, correct? Yay. From the Office for Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs. We're talking about the Parliament of World Religions, which is coming here in August 14th. Before the break, we talked a little bit about, you had mentioned Father Tom Bema, who I had the honor of working with for probably 8-9 years.
And he and I were high school classmates, Notre Dame College Prep class of 71.
Just one of the good guys. I remember we went to Butler once because that's where he had graduated from. He dropped me off because he was on some board there. It may have been an interreligious board. And I'm in the office, the development office, and there's a dog they have a bulldog in their development office. It was the weirdest thing. He didn't tell me. There's a dog in the office. Anyway, Father Tom Bema of happy memory, what a great guy. How did he fit into this whole thing?
Well, beyond, as I mentioned earlier, him being instrumental in, along with Sister Joan in 1993, of bringing the Parliament back into the modern times, he was a principal author of the Global Ethic, as it's called. The signature document of the Parliament of the World's Religions, which lays out 4 and now 5 directives that we can all agree upon, that we are called as religious folks to adhere to.
And so now Tom is the author of that?
Him and Hans Kung were the two main authors.
Wow.
That and there's 2 awards being given for the first time at this year's Parliament, one in Tom Bema's name and one in Hans Kung's name, to honor those who do outstanding achievement in making the global ethic a reality in our world. So he was absolutely fundamental in getting that document off the ground. And if you know him, he's great with words. He's great with compromising with other folks. And his skills were drawn upon deeply in that context, but they produce such a document that all still use today and point to.
It's used around the world in many ways. Different people and cultures study it, and Tom was so beloved.
Yeah, Tom had this great ability to bring people together.
Yeah.
Had a way about, like the word the word compromise means no one leaves this room totally happy.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a compromise, and in relationship, in marriage, at work, right across the board. Two things. One, I'm first going to ask Susan, is during the break we were talking about why gather, why even come, and number two, then after that, Susan, is to go back. We talked earlier about a possible. What are some of the myths about the Parliament of World Religions? And have Dan address that. So, Susan, you've got the platform.
Yeah, well, that's a great question, because why in the world exactly would everyone come together for this? And the point is that people of all these different religions come together in peace with the purpose of peace and harmony, both to be fully present in who they are, but also to listen and to hear and encounter one another with respect. And one of the extraordinary things about the Parliament is that it's really an embodiment of the Golden Rule, because the Golden Rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself, is not only fundamental to Jesus' teachings, but the Golden Rule is fundamental to every major world religion.
Oh,
and it's not meant for people to come together to change minds or to form one world religion.
Exactly. It's not at all about creating one religion. It's about coming together and recognizing each other's common dignity and humanity and living your own faith in the midst of everyone else. And the unity is love. The unity is love, and that's it.
And we piggyback off that. Dan, talk about the myths around this whole thing.
Yeah, the one myth you mentioned of we're not there to create a world religion. We're there to celebrate the religions we come from, the spiritual traditions we come from. And as a Catholic, you don't water down your faith in those settings. You testify to it. You embody it for those around you, as do other members of other religious traditions. And you get to see the diversity there. You get to see the shared love coming out of the depth of our spiritual traditions. We're not trying to create some super religion at these events.
You know, when I have spoken about Jesus and in the Parliament experience, I've had people come up to me, people of other religions come up to me and say, "Oh, Jesus, I know him, we love Jesus." And they are Buddhists and they are Hindus. And
when you think about it, when you get together and you are celebrating what unites us in many ways, and the bottom line is how we treat each other.
Exactly.
With kindness, respect.
Exactly.
And we're all seeking the same thing, to bring an end to world violence, to bring peace and harmony in so many different ways. It's just so frustrating that what unites us gets so separated from what divides us, and walls are built, and the fists go up, and it's in some ways it's very simple how we treat each other with kindness and love. What does it cost to be nice to somebody and to listen and to be patient? And sometimes you don't have to make it complicated, Mark.
Well, and the whole thing, do you remember that line, how many muscles it takes to smile as opposed to how many it takes to frown? It takes a lot more to frown than it
takes
does.
75 muscles to frown and 16 muscles to smile.
Yeah, there it is.
It's easier to smile. Takes less work.
There it is. Now, I would imagine at this gathering of thousands of people, the meals are important. I mean, that's where we intersect. I mean, as families and real families, but also religious family. What does a meal like that look like? And you had mentioned there are going to be awards too. I mean, if no other reason, folks, there's going to be good meals.
There's going to be good food.
Come for food. But anyway, go ahead.
I would say, first of all, every day the Sikh community puts on a lunch called a langar meal, vegetarian, so it's as widely available as possible to as many as possible. And you go and you take your shoes off,
Oh,
You cover
wow.
your head and you sit in long rows. Everyone's on the same, you sit on the floor in long rows on mats, and everyone is equal, and you're served equally on a plate. And it's free for those who have paid for entrance into the. So it's a great experience of communal. You don't know who you sit next to. You can speak to the person next to you or in front of you. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get to know someone while eating, as you say, over food. And generally in interreligious settings, food can be a barrier. There's kosher dietary regulations or halal, and sometimes some folks won't eat meat or these things. So it's not always the easiest thing to eat together, but in that setting, I found that lunch
every day
a communion of sorts.
Right. And it's good to know that the Sikh community in Palatine, the Gurdwara there, are the ones who are providing this, because it is a common thing it is a part of Sikh spirituality to feed people. And so if you're in another country and you're hungry, you can go to any Sikh Gurdwara and you will be fed, because that's what they do from
now,
their
in the
faith.
last couple of minutes,
That's beautiful.
is what are the dates and how can people attend coming from Chicago or listening elsewhere to be part of it? So either Susan or Dan, give us some of the logistics.
Well, the dates are August 14th through the 18th at McCormick Place, so it's a full event. And you can look at their website to get tickets for a day or for the week, and that's parliamentofreligions.org.
One more time.
Parliamentofreligions.org.
And what about a possible phone number, like one of your office numbers, to if they don't want to go to the computer?
You could call our office, our general number of 312-534-5325.
One more time.
312.
Like you believe it.
534-5325. We don't use phones as much anymore.
No, that's true. In fact, we don't use
and
phones.
we're actually not at our desk all that much, so
Exactly. So just
we'll get
folks
back to
leave
you.
a
Online
message.
is easier if you could find it online.
And again, so Parliament of the World.
The website is parliamentofreligions.org.
Okay. And I think that, Mark, we have time for one more question.
I was just going to ask, is Cardinal Supich involved in this?
He's very aware of what we're doing. As you say, he just had a recent article in Chicago Catholic talking about it, encouraging Catholics locally and otherwise to attend. But he's offering a plenary address on the theme of conscience on the Wednesday morning around 10 o'clock. I believe he will be speaking. So, yeah, he's very supportive of this. He's actively going to be there. Bishop Casey will be there for a declaration signing with our ecumenical partners. And Susan and I will be offering some presentations.
Oh, great.
There's Mass on the Feast of the Assumption. So lots of things for Catholics.
And by the way, Bishop Casey was a student of Father Tom Bain up at Wonderline.
That's right, he was.
Yeah.
And we want to thank in a very, very special way Dan Olson and Susan Podelic from the Office for Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs for joining us. And this should be an exciting week here in Chicago. And right now, over 6,000 have signed up to come from all over the world at McCormick Place. And again, Susan, one more time for the website to possibly register.
Parliamentofreligions.org.
And God bless both of you.
Yes, thank you.
And Dan and Susan, thank you for joining us. It's been great. And I also want to say to you, Dan, regarding the Packers this year, good luck to the Packers, but I don't mean it either.
Thanks, Father Greg. Honesty is the best policy.
My good buddy here. But I love these guys. And Father Greg Sakowitz and Mark Teresi on Catholic Chicago, WNDZ 750 AM, 312-255-8408. Also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Stay with us, and again, do not touch that dial.
Catholic Charities has had the privilege of helping people in need in Cook and Lake County for more than 100 years. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our frontline workers who, despite the unprecedented challenges of the past 2 years, continue to excel at their jobs every day. From the warehouse staff members who pack boxes of nutritious foods for low-income seniors, to the dedicated WIC employees who have remained open for families with children under the age of 5, to our volunteers and restaurant partners who ensure that meals are available for those experiencing hunger, to our service coordinators and our professional counselors who continue their vital work in innovative ways, to our food pantry staff, and to all those who work at Catholic Charities Call Center, finding solutions for every person who reaches out to us for help. Charity is at the heart of all you do, and we salute you.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
And welcome back to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM 312-255-8408. Also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Sakowicz and Mark Teresi. Mark, that was a wonderful first half with Susan and Dan.
And was it nice to hear Father Tom Bama's name and what a reverence they have for his work with the Parliament.
And he and I were good friends. I mean, we knew each other going back to Notre Dame High School, college prep, met in August of 1967. So we were two 14-year-old high school freshmen, and how quickly the years went by, and we buried Tom a year ago, April.
You didn't happen to know how the vocation journey for him, because he went to Butler, he was majoring in pharmacy. What happened? Just maybe briefly.
I think he just came to realize when he was at Butler and also then pharmaceutical school for a year, he once said to me, I always had this part of me, I was being called to the priesthood. But I didn't want to respond to it because I had my own thing, what I wanted to do. I finally gave into the Lord, and he said, I never looked back, and he so much loved being a priest, was so loved at Mundelein Seminary.
Oh, he was a gift to Mundelein.
And he was such a kind, very bright, and ecumenical circles known and loved by everybody. So we have a great second half program lined up again, 312-255-8408. St. Agnes of Bohemia Parish, located in Chicago's Little Village neighborhood, is hosting street masses every Tuesday and Thursday evening, beginning of August, to bring the gospel message of peace and hope to the community and to pray for an end to violence. Joining us for this half hour of today's program, Father Marco Franco Luna and Tony Valesco. Father Marco and Tony, welcome to the program this morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Now, I hear, Father Marco, you are the brand new pastor in St. Agnes. You arrived there July 1.
Yes, I am. I just got here 27 days ago.
Wow.
And that is, the very fact that I've gone in my 44 years of priesthood in different assignments, beside moving, it's just so overwhelming to begin a new parish, new names, new structures, new systems, new way of doing things. And also, just for a moment, Mark, you just jotted down 4 pastors that came to our mind, 4 outstanding priests in the Archdiocese who've been previous pastors of St. Agnes. Mark mentioned them.
So, John Mans, yesterday we
buried
a lot
him.
of St. Agnes people were here for his
Yeah.
funeral mass. Don Nevins, Father Don Nevins, Matt Foley I don't know if you know Father Matt Foley, and this is some years back, but Father John Klein too was at Agnes. So people didn't pick you by accident. You're in a long line of wonderful priests, I'm sure Cardinal has the confidence in you that you'll continue that great tradition, those great traditions at Agnes. So congratulations.
Yeah, Father Marco is a great priest.
Thanks.
And then Tony, what is your position in the parish?
Well, I've been a music minister at St. Agnes for 26 years.
Wow.
26 years. Yeah. You've been the director of music.
Well, in the last 5 years, I've been freelancing, but I still participate as a music minister. For 20 years, I served as a director of music and coordinator of liturgy.
That's amazing. And now, Tony, you were born where?
I was born in the United States here in Chicago, raised in Cicero. So Little Village is right around the corner. My home parish is Epiphany Church.
Okay. Was that with Father John Enright back in the day?
Father John Enright, Monsignor Hayes.
Yeah, Monsignor Hayes. Oh my! So
let's not forget at St. Agnes, you forgot a pastor, Cleet Kiley.
Oh sure, before John Klein, right?
Yeah,
he was right before
John Klein.
Yeah, Father Cleet Kiley, an outstanding priest. I mean, all the lists we just gave there, tremendous priest in the Archdiocese, and then Father Marco follows in great footsteps. So So maybe I need to ask you this, Father Marco. You've been there in the parish now less than a month. What are your first impressions of the faith community of St. Agnes of Bohemia?
Well, that's a very people are still looking for Christ, which is a good point nowadays in our culture. And since this is a very Hispanic parish, they are trying to live to present their faith in public, as we do in our home countries. So that's why we do a lot of public things in order to show up our faith, and one of those are the street masses, and the Virgin of Guadalupe is coming up, and there will be a huge feast also here in Little Village. But they are still looking for Christ and trying to in some ways to do it in public. They really want to show the neighborhood that Christ is still doing great things in our souls.
Yeah. Beautiful. Now, Tony, you and I've been doing music for 50 years here in church and other places. But give me an idea, or give Father an idea about the music ministry there, but maybe a memory that you have that really encapsulates for you how important the music ministry is at St. Agnes.
Well, the music ministry at St. Agnes has a long history. There's a lot of volunteers. Mm-hmm. At one point, we had up to 9 masses on a Sunday.
Wow.
So you're talking about a lot of formation, a lot of developing young people and older people. There's a lot of participation through. In the past, we've had teachers come in and teach instruments, mm-hmm. so people could participate by learning new instruments, and now people are starting to see, the fruits of the past. So there's been a lot of movement as far as music at St. Agnes, and we have 7 masses now and they all have music.
Beautiful.
And it's not just usually it's not just one person; it's a group of musicians and singers.
Beautiful.
Right.
And that's a testament to your hard work.
Now, am I right in saying that St. Agnes of Bohemia is the largest Hispanic parish in the Archdiocese of Chicago, or one of?
I would assume it's one of, yes. I don't know the numbers, so
I mean, just got tremendous number. In fact, maybe I was talking to Father Clee Kiley or Father Don Nevins, but it's like over 5,000 registered families or units, and there's thousands of people at St. Agnes of Bohemia. But it's a very, very well known and beautiful church, by the way.
You know, Father Marco, maybe a little bit. Could you share with our listeners and viewers just a little bit of your faith journey? How did this? How did priesthood come to you, or how did you come to the priesthood?
Sure. I was born and raised in Mexico, and I was living there until I turned 23 when I came into the United States without speaking any English.
Wow.
And I studied at the Casa Jesus, which was a program for Hispanic vocations that the diocese had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I was studying at English at UIC, and then I went to Mandalay Seminary for theology because I studied philosophy in the seminary in Mexico. But why I wanted to be a priest, it was because I was an altar server in my home parish, and like seeing my pastor with such a great joy, and he was talking to everyone and enjoying his life, and I always said I want to be like him. I want to be like Padre Isauro. What's his name? Isauro.
Beautiful.
I want to be like him. So when I turned 12, I joined the seminary. That's very common in Mexico when you are very young. So I studied there for 10 years. And when my brother passed, I left the seminary for a while to be with my family. And during that time of healing, I knew about Casa Jesus, and they invited me and began all the process. So I've been in the state for the last 10 years now.
And Marco, you were ordained at Mundelein Seminary in what year?
2019, 4 years ago.
2019. I have sweaters older than you. So you were ordained as I celebrated my 40th anniversary. I was ordained May 9th, 1979. Then you would be middle of May 2019. So that's just amazing.
Right.
Mark, go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to ask, Tony, what about your vocation? I mean, you spent a lot of years in a commitment at St. Agnes. Why? You could have been, you know, I know because I do the music. You could have been doing it anywhere, but you chose to connect with your faith community. Why?
Well, Father John Klein was a person that hired me, and very thankful. May he rest in peace.
Yes, exactly.
And Bishop Bartosik became the administrator after John Klein for a couple of years, or a year and a half.
Wow.
And
great bishop.
Working at the beginning with them, you know, really impacted me. And then when Matt Foley got there, he kind of pushed me to include my family in the ministry. I was separated my ministry at church, kind of like my job, and my family. I told them, you guys have to look for another church. And Matt Foley said, no, we need them here. So my family was very involved in in the ministry at St. Agnes. And currently my daughter and my son were both music ministers for many years, and my wife. So yesterday at the funeral services and mass, my wife and my daughter sang.
Oh, beautiful!
Although my daughter does sing guitar, so she learned guitar in our music lessons that we had, and my son played violin.
Beautiful.
So if you look at those videos, my whole family was involved. Bishop Mans also influenced a lot.
Yeah.
But Matt Foley really asked us to be part of this community. So it was a big blessing for me and my family. So that's the biggest part for me.
Now, Tony, I was there, of course, yesterday for the funeral for Bishop Manns. Were you the guitarist?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, I thought that was you because I was sitting on the other side and my eyesight isn't what it used to be. But that was you on the guitar and singing, and you have a beautiful voice and did a tremendous job in the whole music ministry.
You filled the
yesterday.
cathedral.
You filled the,
it was
your
wonderful.
sound filled the whole cathedral. So, kudos to you. You and the group were fantastic. And I thought that was, when I was looking at you, I said, I think this is Tony from yesterday.
You didn't happen to hear Father Greg trying to sing the Spanish verses, did you?
No. I was doing it very, very softly.
Yeah,
Mark, take us to break.
WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago with Father Marco Franco Luna and Tony Velasco, and we're continuing after our break to talk about St. Agnes of Bohemia Parish and the special masses that are being held in the neighborhoods this summer. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
Catholic Charities offers a wide variety of volunteer opportunities to those who want to share their time and help us serve people in need. Whether it's stocking the shelves of our food pantries, helping refugees learn the English language, tutoring school-aged children, becoming a mentor to young adults, sorting clothes in our clothing rooms, serving hot meals to those who are facing homelessness, or delivering meals and making cards to lift the spirits of our homebound seniors, we are deeply grateful to all those who want to join in our mission of mercy. Volunteer opportunities are updated weekly for people of all ages at ccofchicagovolunteer.com, or just call us at 312-655-7053. That's 312-655-7053. Thank you for helping us follow Jesus' call to serve our neighbors in need.
This is year 44 for me teaching. When I started here, there were teachers here that had taught me when I was a student. Now I'm the old person. Right now, I teach junior high math. I love when kids find what I'm teaching to be fun and they get it. I see that light bulb go off and it's a thrill. People are always amazed. What? You're here for 44 years? It's hard for me to believe, frankly. I love what I do. Every summer I think, oh, I miss the classroom. Even on the weekends, I think I can't wait to get back on Monday and teach those quadratic equations.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Did you know that Catholic Charities accepts car donations? If you're ready to free up space in your garage and put a stop to all those expenses that go along with owning a car, we will gratefully accept your donation, whether the car is running or not. You choose a pickup time that is convenient for you, and we will make the donation as easy as possible, free of charge. You'll receive a charitable donation receipt as well. We accept all types of vehicles nationwide, and you will know that your donation is made to Catholic Charities, an agency you can trust. To learn more about donating your car, call 877-786-4483. That's 877-786-4483. Thank you.
it's convenient in the summer to bring people together, but it's the response of our parish, our church, to the violence in the street, but also to help people, especially our parishioners, to be involved in prayers and build community when they come together to build peace.
Beautiful. We're back. WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-225-8408. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago with Father Marco, Franco Luna, Tony Velasco. We just saw, our YouTube viewers saw beautiful snippets of the street masses and heard some comments by one of the associate pastors. But maybe Father Marco and Tony, why don't you share with us, first of all, the concept of street masses, but how is it going with them? Father Marco, maybe
probably Tony could tell us more about the history of those street masses. So I'll let him.
Okay, great.
Speak at this moment,
great.
And I'll conclude.
Yeah, Tony, was that started by Father Don Nevins?
I would like to say that I know who started it, but it was there previous to my arrival before John Klein.
Okay.
So there, it's been around for a while. So I would assume it was started by Bishop Manns.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
So it started as a way to invite the community, to let them know that St. Agnes existed. So we split up our area, the community, into sectors, and then before every mass, the night before, we would go door to door and hand them a list of services that St. Agnes had and invite them to St. Agnes, and invite them to the mass that was going to be held in a central location of that sector, and that would be the Black Mass. So we're essentially, it was our summer mission, letting know that
beautiful,
that we were there and the services that we offered. Violence throughout the history in Little Village, obviously it developed into something more of praying for the end of violence, and for many other things that are needed in our community, such as immigration issues. But that's basically what the start was for me, and just bringing the liturgy to the community and welcoming new people. Many times people arrive in Little Village, and they didn't know that St. Agnes was there. So that's the reason we have a lot of new people coming in to Little Village constantly.
Now, Tony, when the mass is happening, are the streets closed off? Are the police notified?
The street
How does
is
it
closed
work?
off, yes. So we set up a sound system. So we started inviting people before the mass starts, so people can hear us like blocks away, because we turn up that volume and we invite people to come out, at least sit at their porch, and we especially invite new people that are not part of St. Agnes. We invite everybody to show them that we're here, and we pray for peace in the community.
So which means then every year would be about 5 or 6 or 7 masses throughout the summer, like one per week?
Every year it's different. Obviously, we have many music ministers, so I'm not really involved this year. We have many great music ministers like Vivier and Alma Delia Molina. But yeah, every year there's several masses. There's sometimes we started as early as July and had up to 12 and 14 masses.
Mm.
And it does mirror. So I went down to Quechua for 3 years to work with our mission group that was down there, and it mirrors how worship occurred in that little town. There was the chapel, but they'd have mass in the court, not the courtyard, but what I'm talking about, and processions. So the town, it was just totally integrated into the culture of the town. That's how we worship. We worship not only in church, we worship all around the community. Now, Father Marco, how did you hear about these masses before you took the pastorate and thought, wow, that'll be something nice to be involved in?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did, because I was an associate pastor at the neighboring parish for my first assignment, and I was invited once to celebrate Mass with the community here at St. Agnes. And it's something that I grew up with in my childhood, because my pastor that I was talking about before, that's something that he did when I was growing up. And something beautiful is like before Mass, people gather together for Rosary. So then the new neighbors, I'll say, they are like getting aware that like what's happening outside. So somebody's praying and getting around the altar to celebrate Mass. And right after, they had food to share.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
they are right after Mass, they build a community, which is a beautiful thing, because they know each other, and they really know who are they praying with and for, which is the most important thing. And during Mass, they are bringing they write down their intentions and they present them before the altar. And many of them is because they are looking for peace and justice, and many cases in the court and all of that. So people gather together in their faith, but also they are sharing their own struggles, their own life, I'll say, by building a community, which is a beautiful thing.
Now, Tony, I need to ask you this question. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but now Father Marco is the brand new pastor in your parish. What advice would you give him as he begins as the new pastor?
Or have you given him?
Or have you already given him as he has begun as the new pastor
He did,
at St. Agnes?
Yeah, I don't know that I have advice. I think I just told him stories.
Well, give us one of the stories.
Give us one of the stories that maybe your favorite story that you shared with Father Marco.
I talk so much, I don't remember everything I say. And I think sometimes he was like, "Okay, well, thank you," and he's walking away, and I kept talking.
He's walking backwards.
There's so much about St. Agnes, and I just wanted him to let him know that there's just so much. There's so much, so many great people at St. Agnes. Yeah, I can't think of anything. But I did talk his ear off about St. Agnes. I love St. Agnes.
And I'm sure that I'm sure, Father Marco, that people have truly welcomed you as the new shepherd. Because I know in that community, like everywhere, that people love their priests.
Oh, they sure
and
do.
welcome them. And I know that, of course, Father Marco, I saw you yesterday at the funeral for Bishop John Manns. But I got also, being a brother priest, and you're ordained now 4 years, and I'm 44 years, is that when you do walk into a new parish, there's a joy, there's also a fear, there's a hope, and also that you're walking into a community that has a rich, great tradition, and to be able to listen to people of all ages, and you will do that so well because, again, there's been a rich history of great pastors in which you will be one of them too. But we need to bring the program to a close. So I want to thank in a very, very special way Father Marco Franco Luna and Tony Velasco, who says he talks too much, and for joining us on the program here this morning. But no, Tony and Father Marco, you have been marvelous guests. Our prayers are with you as you begin the ministry. Mark?
I just want to add one thing. If you could let our listeners and viewers know where can they find the schedule for these masses?
Give us the website.
You can go to St. Agnes of Bohemia Church in Chicago. There is the full list. We have 2 masses still going on. Today in the evening.
Oh, tonight.
And next Tuesday it's going to be the last one.
The last one.
So today, yeah.
And next Tuesday.
After tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Marco and Tony. Special thanks to co-host Mark Teresi. Great work of our producer engineers, Clinton Contrell and Michael May. God bless all of you. Have a great, great week and weekend coming up.
Yes.
Join us every Monday through Friday at this time for Catholic Chicago. You can stream our programs live or listen to past programs by visiting our website, archchicago.org, and clicking on Radio TV. And please connect with Catholic Chicago on social media.